Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
You jumped in front of me.
Sorry.
Can you tell that we've done this a few times?
Once or twice.
Yeah, once or
50.
twice. All right, I forgive you. I forgive you.
Thank you, Scott.
We are back with Gutsy Presenter for our third official episode, I think. Is that right?
It is. Yes.
I'm losing count. We're only on number 3. Today, we are talking about co-presenting. But I kind of think we should define co-presenting because it
can look different in different scenarios.
Forms. So give me one scenario for co-presenting.
It could be co-presenting over video, over the virtual environments.
Right.
And it's having that smooth transition from one presenter to the other. Yeah.
Well, and we're getting back to live presentations as the pandemic sort of plays out.
We are.
So there's, I think, 2 varieties of co-presenting in that case too, which is you can have 2 presenters who sort of switch off, right? Somebody's on stage, they do their thing, and then the next person comes up and your first presenter exits. But sometimes, and I think it can be really weird and crazy and awkward, you have 2 presenters on stage at the same time for quite a while, delivering part of a keynote or whatever it might be. So I think we should address all of those things.
Yes, that, and also it could be a large conference room and everyone is sitting around a large table and there are multiple presenters in that space also.
Wow. Okay, we better get going. There's a lot to cover.
Well, I believe that these skills will tie to all 3 different types of environments. You just might have to tweak them a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the thing. There's usually some underlying rules and principles that apply. And then
absolutely.
So let's start with the virtual thing and this idea of,
okay,
it can be bumpy if you don't have some guardrails. Like what do you advise people to do to make sure it's a smooth transition?
First and foremost, you need to practice together.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be one of the presenters, you want to get into that Zoom room, whichever platform you use, get into that space together, go through the slides, make sure there's not going to be technical hiccups. And then also, what's that smooth transition? How do you transition from one presenter to the next? So you want to practice that.
Yeah.
Because your audience, they expect for this to be a smooth experience when there are multiple presenters.
Yeah.
It can get awkward.
It's got to be a spirit. I think this is one of those rules that applies across the board to co-presenting. There's got to be a spirit of teamwork in the presenters.
Yeah, so it doesn't come across choppy and uncomfortable when you make that transition.
Well, and then and what I'm thinking about, what makes it choppy sometimes is if you're really nervous and you're just concerned about how am I going to come across and I'm so worried about my stuff, then it's hard to put energy toward those smooth transitions and making it feel cohesive. You're just focused on, oh gosh, am I going to survive this? Will I walk off the stage feeling good about me? But if you go, okay, we are working together to give the audience something. And I think it helps if you talk about, again, what is our main goal, our main message? Don't think of this as 2 individuals trying to do our own thing. It's one team trying to do one thing. What is that one thing? And how can we do it well together?
I like that.
Yeah, I think that helps.
It does. It does help. And also with that teamwork piece, I would designate a timekeeper because it's very frustrating when you've been told you have 15 minutes to give a presentation. And let's say you're the 3rd presenter and the presenters before you, they take 20 minutes, they go longer. And so now your presentation time is getting smaller and smaller. Always have that plan B.
Yeah.
Be prepared just in case your time gets scrunched down, which is so common. Know those main points that you must get across and tell your audience. You can let the audience know. My presentation is now going to be about 5 minutes. So I'm going to tell you what's most important, and I can follow up with the other details. So be prepared to have that condensed version as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Time does get tricky. I would hope that if you approach it right, that's part of the teamwork aspect of it.
It is.
If you're obsessed about
teamwork,
getting your stuff across, then you can go long. But if you're going, wait a second, I'm part of a team of 2 or 3 people who are delivering this over time, then I don't want to mess up my teammates.
Well, it could be the audience, though. It could be that the audience keeps interrupting a presenter and they're sucking up all the time. So again, that timekeeper, and I always announce the timekeeper at the beginning of the presentation, and you have fun with it. You say, hey, Scott's our timekeeper. His job is to keep us on time. You got this, Scott? And you're giving permission for Scott to bring control back into that presentation.
Well, let's talk about then the other kind. So now we're at an in-person type of thing. And let's say, this could be an event with a big keynote type of thing. And I've coached for some of these keynotes where there's transitions where multiple people are on stage. Somebody introduces somebody else. They have a conversation. Sometimes there's 2 presenters out there for an entire presentation.
This gets tricky.
Well, it does. And here is a word of advice for those of you about movement on stage and about how to think about it and behave when you're not the one speaking. One is, this is true of all listeners, is that they're very selective with their eyes, right? I have to choose what to look at. Ears are a little different. You hear what you hear, but with eyes, you say, what do I look at? If you're not the person speaking, I always encourage you to step generally, unless it's going to be a very quick back and forth, to step aside a little bit. And if you were the person speaking, to take center stage for the most part. It says, look at me, everybody. I'm the one who's going to be speaking.
Front and center.
But knowing that people will look, their eyes from time to time will wander to the person that's not speaking. Well, what do you do? Because when you're not speaking, but you're still on, that can be really weird if you don't have experience with it, and you'll see people that get nervous, they'll check their notes, all this stuff. And if any of that weird kind of fidgety kind of behavior can be distracting, it can sort of erode kind of the impact of it all. So I always remind people, you're always speaking. You may not be opening your mouth and talking because your partner, the other presenter, is talking, but you are always talking.
Yeah, you're always presenting.
Yeah, with your body. So I kind of teach people, it's funny. It's like active listening. When you're an active listener, you're literally active. You nod a lot, you smile, your head tilts, right? So people who are in that position where they're not the speaker at the moment should be nodding, making facial expressions.
As if they're part of the audience.
To a degree, right? There's two targets. One is your co-presenter. So your co-presenter is going to be saying stuff, and you might speak to them, again, not with your voice, but with your face and your body, by going,
Are you talking about active listening, Scott?
Well, yeah. But it's weirder because people's eyes are on you. Nobody typically watches you closely and dissects your active listening, but that's what it's going to feel like here. You're going to go, okay.
It's true.
Then from time to time, turn toward the audience and have a shared moment with them. So your partner says something really cool, then you look at them and you're like, yeah, that was great.
Well, yes. And let's apply, because I mentioned, what if you're presenting in a large conference room and everyone is seated? It's the same applications. You still want to practice, know your introductions, know your transitions. Don't be a distraction at the table. Don't be typing on your laptop while someone else is presenting. That's for everybody, by the way.
Yes, that is for everybody.
That is rude.
Now, what are we going to be doing next week?
We have a treat next week.
Yeah. The first of hopefully many treats.
It will be.
Yeah. We are going to be holding our first Gutsy Presenter guinea pig episode.
Be nice about guinea pigs. I love guinea pigs.
I know. It's a fond sort
sweet,
of
sweet little guys.
Yeah. So we are going to have a special guest, a very special guest. Our summer intern will be joining us to be our guinea pig.
She has no idea what to expect.
She has no idea. And it's going to be fun. But we are going to coach Daviana, our summer intern, in the first of what is going to be an ongoing series of Gutsy Presenter guinea pig episodes.
Yes. And Scott, it's very important that we emphasize these guinea pig sessions are going to be fun. I cannot wait for this.
Yeah. It's not about, with Daviana, we may torture her a little bit. Let's face it.
We need to have fun with Daviana.
Right.
We are going to get her to liven up with us.
That's right. All right. So next week we will be doing something new, a lot of new stuff in the last couple of weeks. So this is going to be great. All right, everybody.
There.
Thank you for joining us. Gutsy.